This week on Hermitcraft.
Well, calling it insults isn't really going to work too well.
No, that's its middle name.
Oh,
yeah, stupid's the middle name.
Well, what's the last name?
Moron.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft RECAP. My name is Pixelriffs, our writer is LoyXP, and it's week 4. We've been at it for a month, and somehow the server is still standing. And if it wasn't still standing, Goatem would have invented a flying machine to pick it up again. As the goats of the Goatem pole emerge from the ground, the server has changed since last time they saw it. As communities like Goatem Town continue to develop, shops are getting established, farms are churning out resources, and the hermits build more and more elaborate ways of hiding a dragon egg. And so with that out of the way, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week. Starting with Whales Knight, who, in raiding an ocean monument, has found no sponge room, but the next monument had 2, so I guess the average still checks out at least. He uses the winnings to mop up a river around his squid farm to make a perimeter version of the drought season. The ink will come in handy for concrete making, as Impulse SV and himself decide to execute the aptly named Yes Wings Club's headquarters in that very same material. The idea is to make it into a plane hangar, and concrete is the plainest material in the game after all. Lucky then that Wells builds a concrete converter, or else it would take another flood to build. They'll have plenty of sign-ups to the YWC if the Elytra keep flying off the shelves. Eyesore has generated enough income for Impulse that he can spend some time on passion projects that aren't for sale, at least not yet. With his iron farm adjusted so it doesn't flood the surface with golems, he reroutes his gold farm storage into a new high-capacity piglin bartering system. Condensing 24 gold bars into one easy-to-manage payment, he stuffs a bunch of piglins into a single-block space and barters his way to endless blackstone, quartz, string, iron nuggets, fire-resist potions, gravel, you get the point.
What you got? And down you go. Thank you for your contributions.
Azuma Void goes for the opposite approach in terms of commerce, seeing how his, or rather Evil Azuma's, new shop takes up a big chunk of the area and eventually the whole server. The ominous and dark building would have trouble attracting customers, especially now that Evil X has put a statue of himself looming over it, if not for the many wares X will be selling out of it, once the last villager of his flock drops their prices via zombification. Unfortunately, the process of putting people into life debt is interrupted when Goatem and Rendog show up, bringing their own lore to the table.
I mean, these coordinates are my area, but I have got no clue what's going on here.
Having had their comments sections flooded with coordinates the audience has deduced from previous clues, Doc and Ren are directed to Azuma's base, from which they dig down into a mysterious lush cave mineshaft. Removing some blocks from a cave-in leads them to an axolotl sanctuary of sorts, filled with watery critters named with different letters, which the trio scramble to rescue before some lava flows in on top of them. It seems like this may be the latest cue in their ongoing Hermatrix ARG, especially if the name of Doc's latest goat is anything to go by.
And hereby, I name you... What? I had named you Klaus.
The rest of his week is spent upgrading the multi-spawner with a mob sorter, which converts the skeletons into strays and the zombies into drowned, all while multiplying the latter through reinforcement mechanics, to the point where the farm is churning out slowness-tipped arrows and copper ingots. Doc plans to offload the copper onto GoodTimesWith Scar when he makes an appearance on the Swagon, but Scar has a land grab in mind, and Doc engraves the terms of their contract on the nearest pair of eggs, before heading to Goatem Town and resurrecting the Goatem pole from its offshore pit.
Oh, it's flying! Wait.
Oh, there he is!
Oh!
What's going on?
Yes!
Oh, it's glorious! That's beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Yes!
Having done his part to save the goats, Rendog takes to the underground, where the hyperdrive-equipped RV now flushes them down into a purpose-built sewer, although we'd advise against disposing of vegetable matter down the toilet. The sanitation canals are actually more of a vault where Doc and Ren plan to store their valuables for the season: diamond supplies, shulker boxes, personal effects, and a map of the area. Ren decorates the sewer by growing glittering trails of crystals up the walls, so it turns out the secret of the ooze was that it's made of amethyst.
A sewer. Not only a sewer, it is a sewer that has been encrusted with beautiful crystalline growths, I suppose, that have been growing up the sides of the walls, slowly taking over the place.
Regardless, hermits can have infinite ooze now because CubFan135 is offering it at the casino free of charge. Make no mistake, you can still gamble, just not for money. Or for money. But also for anything else, is the thing. Having surrendered his only ice slushy to Zedaf last week,
Okay, it hurts.
Cub decides to get him some more of those and covers a snowy plains in cauldrons, hoping for powdered snow. But since he's standing around a tundra anyway, he also puts a fully automated snow farm at the place powered by a TNT duper, which is certainly not an overreaction and is a perfectly normal way to farm snow, as long as you're him or Ilmango.
Just like that, and honey times it so that it always breaks and gets the snowballs. Just like so.
Though science has not yet imagined a way to utilize a snow bucket, and Zedaf is more preoccupied with the sociological side of his research. Right now it comes down to building a room under the general facility and locking Tango Tech in it where no one can hear him scream.
Next challenge, I need you to make yourself a friend. The subject is showing strange lack of knowledge.
Googling, because it's not my thing.
What exactly the record will show of the many questions unanswered featured in the CCTV is not clear, but perhaps with enough research it will finally reveal the world the difference between a duck. But maybe it's good that the inner workings of Tango Tech's mind remain a mystery. After all, there's iron farms in there, dormant, resting, waiting to happen. Tango plans to make something or other with the new golem mechanics, but in the meantime settles on making his Elton John glasses removable and distributable.
Slap on.
Just in time for the Big Eyes meetup on the gas station matter. BOO has been frantically breeding llamas for more inventory space after discovering the woolly caravans were hiding their maximum capacity behind a hefty dose of RNG. While in the process of creating a whole herd of 15-slot beasts, he gets distracted by Tango asking for a few extra clocks, although Pearl and Corrales may have had something to do with that. It's a ruse he puts to one side for the grand opening of the Big Eyes crew's first shop. The future's so bright they're wearing shades. And with the first Parson Gas way station well and truly opened, B-Dubs takes the opportunity to direct a commercial, proving that advertising is an art form, and in this case, the art is surrealism.
Hey, Corrales! I'm tired, Corrales.
Come on in to Big Eyes Passing Gas.
What a convenient
Gas
service
to be
they
passed.
provide here.
The bookshelves of Parson Gas may soon have some competition on several fronts, the first of which is Stress Monster, who's been working her way towards some easy librarian trades this whole time. Taking the route of melon and pumpkin farms plus a few zombified farmers, Stress clear-cuts an area for a shop and establishes a cozy book nook with competitive prices. The icing on the cake is provided by Geminitay, arriving with some spore blossoms and drip leaf to decorate the shop front, which Stress pays forward later by delivering some brown mushrooms to Vintage Beef in his hour of need.
Thank you
two
so
for ya.
Oh, two.
Yeah.
Sweet. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I did wonder because I thought there's a swamp right over there, Beef. Why didn't you
Yeah,
just
no,
go?
I couldn't leave. I can't leave. You won't pick anything up.
The other competitor turns out to be Pearlescent Moon, who has really been putting the boat in Goatem Town. Her new shop is a converted tugboat, which sells the fruits of her villager trading ventures, including name tags which definitely won't turn stuff upside down, bookshelves, and assorted enchanted books. She's even planning some floating outposts in the form of chest-bearing llamas, and at least a chance to make a profit gives Pearl enough capital to sign up for TEG. The shop even does some bespoke axolotl acquisition if your name is GoodTimesWith Scar, and will steal your clocks if your name is B-Dubs.
In the bushes.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
We'll be there. And then
Okay.
when you get it, come back and then give it to us right in front of your face.
Yes. Yes.
Make sure he sees.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And B-Dubs will certainly not need the extra stress, what with Geminitay encroaching on one of the gas stations with her artisanal birch trees. It's a good thing she owns stonks in the corporation too, seeing as how her horse Moose, who we have to clarify is neither a moose nor a cow, will now remain her primary form of transportation. Tay has signed up for the No Wings Club, meaning it's prime time to build stables at the cottagecore village. All better than keeping Moose in the cow pen where he's being hoof-winked.
Which I really like. I really think that it works out.
Meanwhile, at Horsehead Farms, which is somehow not the most macabre segue we've ever done, XB Crafted and Hypno start a villager breeder with the secondary aim of having traders of their own, but mostly so they can get an iron farm going and actually have enough hoppers for their giant storage system.
That's supposed to be where our villagers are. Do we just have a bunch of zombies in there or just the one now?
That doesn't stop XB from setting up a bunkhouse for the remaining villagers, rerouting the excess arrows from the mob farm into a handy lava trash can, and setting up nether portal access so people can arrive at the farm in a consistent compass direction. Speaking of farms and lava, Mumbo still has unfinished business with last week's Blaze Farm concept, and thankfully for canine lovers everywhere, he's found a fix for the proxy tamed wolf dying prematurely. So he leads a dog from the overworld into the nether and down to the fortress, where the farm is a roaring, or perhaps just growling, success. Either way, it delivers him some blaze rods when all he has to do is block.
You have no idea how cool this is. You have no idea how cool this is.
Between this, the Enderman Dropper, and the Ghast Farm, he now has all the resources he needs to craft End Crystals, which he now plans to explode around stuff he wants to die without increasing his personal kill count, which just shows that killing was below him, but peace was never an option. It's a technicality, but we like technicalities, especially when they're tested out on Rendog.
This, and then...
Oh!
Oh man, the way it gets cut off when someone dies is so funny.
To that degree, powdered snow technically isn't an Instagram filter, but it sure won't stop Grian from using it that way. This week, Grian announces that this season he will not be building any mega bases, right before planning the entrance to his future cave house, which ends up bigger than the hill it's supposed to lead into. Not to be stopped by the terrain, he blasts right through the hill and into the river behind it, which naturally needs to be drained, yada yada Wells Knights segment. Another major expansion planned is the next stage of the Shop on Rails concept. Grian wants to sell something called a Perhaps You Perished parcel, which is a more posh version of a Did You Die box. The only way to mass produce those is through villager exploits, and so he exploits a whole beacon base out of poor testificates, having only sold them 2 pumpkins and a buttload of their own glass. Then it's time to take the show on the road. Too bad then that the road is already occupied by another businessman. Being already a tycoon on wheels, GoodTimesWith Scar has gathered just a ton of everythings, and visits a few folks to distribute it. There is, however, a catch. In the game of Scars, you don't pay with money. Through the Journey of the Swagon, best name ever by the way, Scar acquires 2 Zombie Cleo armor stand vouchers, a Goatem contraption IOU and a tiny island at his place, and Tango Tech's attic, despite Grian's protests. We don't know why he wants all of these things, but there seems to be a nefarious plan in motion. A scheme even. Perhaps a caper.
What are you going to do with it?
That's not part of the deal.
Anyway, having not gotten Tango's attic, Grian convinces Corrales to crash on his for a small payment of a bunch of expensive stuff.
How much space are we talking about? Like the whole attic?
Just a space in your attic. Like an attic troll.
Hey, you know what else travelled through the entire server lately? The Teg! Last we saw it, the Dragon Egg resided at False Symmetry's base house in a mysterious location. No, not that one, that's just an Enderman head. But despite the many red herrings, Geminitay finds the actual Teg under the bridge right outside False's starter house and takes it home to an even more convoluted web of mind games. As Grian finds out later, Gem has built a whole yard of random buttons with fake piston action, so you can't even tell which ones actually do and don't do anything, but at least there's cake. Finally, Grian reunites with the Dragon Egg, having found it in the rafters in her moose stables, and hides it right in plain sight on the big Teg built with black concrete. But it turns out all that does is bring the thing closer to Scar, who locates it back in Grian's starter home. From him, the Teg transfers to Cubfan and back to his molehill. Quite disappointed in polite signs as a security system, this time Cub digs out an entire labyrinth of twists and turns where he quickly loses the Teg and an Iscal, but more on that in a moment.
Also, there may or may not be some other things that you might want to check out. Maybe some hidden inputs here and there. You know me.
Once he's done his duty as the Medal Fairy, delivering medals to the No Wings Club, Iscal steps up to the challenge of riddling his way through Cubfan's Teg maze. Eventually he cracks it, the puzzle, not the egg, and is finally able to turn his eccentric cliffside house into a Teg challenge.
Complexity, art, complicated, okay.
Taking advantage of the egg being affected by gravity, Iscal sets a series of challenges which players must solve as they make their way through layers of the house. Ending in a scrambled colour lock, players must guess the combination to before the egg will be ejected for them. And if they can't figure out the solution to these devious puzzles, at least he made the house look nice in the process. If you feel that this is a little bit excessive, let us tell you about Jevin, who is preparing a Teg hunting labyrinth as well, despite not even having the Teg yet. His ambition was to dig a hole down to bedrock and cover every vertical block of it in paintings that may or may not have had secret passages behind them, that may or may not lead to a labyrinth, that may or may not also be trapped to heck and back. Very uncertain about this project is where we're going here. Of course, this much digging is not really fun without a beacon, and so a wither fight is in order, which gives Jevin an idea: wither digging. This kind of works in the overworld, and kind of doesn't in the nether. So I guess the netherite he gifts to Corrales is all manually gathered. Still, there's one more chunk to dig up, and that's where a massive sugarcane farm goes. Mostly meant to provide for villager trading, but also as a fireworks ingredient. And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is LoyXP and my name is Pixelriffs. Today we have a special offering for you, as Loy has just finished a grand castle he's been working on the entire month, so there's a grand video about it in the end screen theatre. Click the picture on your screen right now and enjoy some castle building tips with a bunch of cool time-lapse sprinkled in. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.